Try not to seem to be something you've experienced now. You've served more than 20 years, 27 years in jail. He recently began dating this year. The Harvey family adventure proceeds to disentangle. And this time, Marjorie Harvey's girl, Morgan's venturing into the spotlight. Clutch your caps, since it seems like the dearly held secrets are being hauled out of the shadows, and Morgan isn't keeping down the mother-girl pair, is by all accounts secured in an unpleasant quarrel, with Morgan defying Marjorie about the supposed shameful acts she's finished to her natural dad, Jim Townsend. The situation starts to get interesting as allegations fly, uncovering an account of surrender and disloyalty that would make even the juiciest drama become flushed. It's supposed that Marjorie left Jim and ventured to such an extreme as to squeal on him, to the police arrival him in a correctional facility, while she figured out how to get away, as the alleged casualty, Jim Townsend himself, evidently has a motherload of tea to spill on Marjorie's cloudy past. It seems to be the sovereign of control, maybe experiencing her own medication as her past returns to cause major problems for her. The stunning design symbol we've all seen swaggering other than Steve Harvey on television has a wild history that is causing a commotion quicker than a Hollywood embarrassment. Well, it appears as though Marjorie's flares are at long last licking at her heels. And it's all on account of her most memorable spouse, Jim Townsend. He's prepared to let the cat out of the bag, and afterward some in a tell-all diary that is as of now sending shockwaves through Tinseltown. He composed 66% of this journal while in the slammer, and he's making no confidential of his aim to uncover Marjorie for all her supposed wrongdoings, from her contribution in the obscure universe of medication, managing to her standing as a gold digger specialist. It resembles the top as being passed over Marjorie's painstakingly developed veneer. The world is humming with an expectation, as everybody ponders exactly what delicious goodies Jim will uncover. He likewise recently referenced, "I'm spilling my guts. Nobody realizes what occurred, except for me and Marjorie." And afterward additionally added, "I have no devotion to Marjorie. She showed her hand. I will recount my story. It doesn't make any difference, assuming that she is familiar with it." Jim Townsend's detailed account book about Marjorie Harvey has raised a ruckus around town, and kid, is it an exciting read that is leaving jaws dropping. The country over the tension and rush paving the way to its delivery were sufficient to send the tattle factories into overdrive. And now that the book's out, it's letting the cat out of the bag on every one of the subtleties Marjorie has purportedly denied for a really long time. The disclosures resemble a shockwave, and the world is abuzz with interest in the corrupt stories concealed inside its pages. Even the portrayal of the book, Snakes in the Nursery, the untold story of the existence of Jim, recently made some tension as it peruses. I'll accept you through my encounters as I attempt to figure out a world loaded up with kid misuse, outrage, dread, and enslavement. You'll get an unparalleled view to see what it resembles to confront savagery drug managing my union with Marjorie Harvey, flow wife of entertainer, humorist Steve Harvey, and ravenousness, and what it can mean for somebody's life. Seriously fascinating that it isn't only one book that Jim will be delivering, yet 3 of them, just after Marjorie and Jim secured the bunch the last part of the 90s. Set up for this wounded venture, their apparently completely flawless life took a dull turn when misfortune struck, while Marjorie was expecting their subsequent child. Townsend's genuine nature clearly became known, driving him down a deceptive way into the grip of groups of hoodlums. He wound up in the slammer, passing on Marjorie to get the bits of a broke marriage and a daily existence flipped around. And in the event that that is insufficient dramatization, they previously had a wonderful little girl, Morgan, before the entire trial went down, as the medication ruler's realm disintegrated, and Marjorie's contribution in the wreck went under the spotlight. Things turned startlingly. The high-stakes mental contest drove senior specialists to warn Jim Townsend that Marjorie's contribution in the medication dealing activity was causing a stir among investigators. FBI And the DEA thought Marjorie's inclusion to be more prominent than being an honest pregnant housewife. As she professed to be, however, at that point Townsend clearly pursued a stunning choice powered by adoration and franticness. He hammered out an agreement with the specialists to keep Marjorie out of prison. And to end the examination in return for his collaboration, he ventured onto the stand to protect her from the legitimate Tempest, since he cherished her. And she was pregnant with their subsequent kid. It resembles. Given a lifelong incarceration, Townsend just served 26 years in the slammer on account of, in all honesty. Then President Barack Obama, who conceded him an exoneration, don't seem to be something you've had to deal with now. You've served north of 20 years, 27 years in jail. You were getting 28. As a matter of fact, on the off chance that you, assuming you included the year I did in the state when I was truly coming up in the game, since you were initially given like a lifelong incarceration, without the chance of parole presently, you've been out for about, 4 or 5 years, 6 years, or 6 years in January. In the event the watchers aren't comfortable, you have been dealing with a book for a long. While it's called Snakes in the Nursery, the explanation I took the book off the rack was truly a result of Steve Harvey yet. With Steve Harvey, made a connection, someone said, I let you know they sent me, a connection send you a connection, and afterward. I don't think we never completed that. And that connect, he was saying that he was discussing Jason. When Jason around a long time back, Jason was somewhat defiant, my child. Jason, he told Steve Harvey. One day you're not my dad, Jimmy Towns. And my dad, like that, so I suppose they're somewhat pissed, that is Steve Harvey, with the meeting talking thus, when Jason let him know that it sort of irritated him, as the draperies fell on one section of dramatization, one more unfurled. And it's juicier than a drama plot after Jim Townsend bore the responsibility and arrived in a correctional facility. Marjorie burned through no time in seeking legal separation, apparently involving it as a memento for his penance. And afterward in strolls Darnell Wood, a man who turned into a focal figure in Marjorie's life. They even had a little girl together named Lori, however, at that point. By and by the marriage was so turbulent from the outset that it didn't keep going long. And surprisingly, after years, not even Lori at any point freely expressed that Darnell was her dad. Yet here's the kicker, he wasn't any man, he was Townsend's cousin. And hang tight for it, another street pharmacist, like a psyche bowing turn, has Hollywood, humming with doubt the circles of wrongdoing and energy, became ever more tight as Darnell too ended up confronting the virus steel of jail bars. This time, however, the FBI's doubt went to Marjorie, causing a stir and getting people talking about her possible inclusion in the obscure dealings, and even challenged to murmur that she could have been a narc, a mannequin ace calling the shots, while her men accepted any penalty. And in the midst of this hurricane, Marjorie's little girl Morgan remained as a quiet observer, left to explore the trash of her mom's muddled undertakings. It resembles a ceaseless adventure of interest, deplorability, and problematic decisions in the wake of getting away from the grasp of the law. Not once yet, 2 times Marjorie appeared to have stirred things up around town bonanza by rejoining with, in all honesty, Steve Harvey himself. The powers of Providence lined up in 1987, and their unforeseen experience set up for an excursion that opposed the chances, enduring many years of tempests and difficulties as Marjorie and Steve's sentiment bloomed. It seems like she put her past in the back view, reflect in any event, venturing to such an extreme as to reduce most, if not all, connection with her ex Jim and her own kids, Jason and Morgan. The tangled trap of her activities had outcomes that undulated through the existences of those she left behind, similarly as Jim Townsend rose up out of in the slammer, anxious to construct associations with the kids he missed, while detained Marjorie called the shots by, and by incredibly, she supposedly cut off the ties among Jim and their children, denying them the opportunity to reconnect and compensate for some recent setbacks. Jim said, once she met him, he made me cut off. He additionally added, saying, such an extremely long time. I could call night or day. And she was generally there for me, yet the telephone was removed the following day when she met him now. This is miserable, seeing that now he doesn't have anything to lose, even his children are currently conditioned by Marjorie. Yet one thing is clear, there is serious areas of strength for why Morgan disdains her mom. Envision how troublesome it would have been for her when Morgan was only 5 years of age, and her dad was in prison. She'd probably been damaged by being separated from him years after the fact. Steve showed up as an optimal dad in her life. Yet it wasn't enough for Morgan to just patch up her security with Jim, as she accepted that Marjorie was the one answerable for her dad's destruction. Naturally, Marjorie could have found a way this way to isolate herself and the children from Rec Center, looking at his upset, unlawful past. Yet who will reply about Marjorie's remissness towards Morgan and Jason sometime? Prior, there were hypotheses about conflicts in Harvey's tribe. Steve's different kids were desirous of Lori Harvey, seeking all the princess treatment, while others sat and watched in the event that it isn't just about preference. Then what is it? Steve and Marjorie are both known for being engaged with Lori's private and expert life, like posting just after her separation with Michael B. Jordan. So she won't understand. He recently began dating this year, so how can we go to deal with that oak? No competitors, no rappers. This time it was claimed that Morgan was furious and didn't have any desire to see her mother. Not in the least did she apparently unfollow her on Instagram. Yet she likewise quit going to family get-togethers. This seems to be the displeasure she was restraining has at last snapped open. It is without a doubt that Morgan understood a cycle late.